I'm Brent Ruff.
And I'm Josh Teifke.
Today, we sat down with Josh Wagner out of JW Whitetail Farm in White Pigeon and basically went over the whole captive deer industry process as a whole. There's a lot more that goes into it than what people think. He's one of the guys that breeds these deer that you see at these high fence operations where you pay a ridiculous amount of money to shoot a ridiculously large animal.
We got into everything as far as the disease in the industry, the breeding of the industry, whether you're raising them for selling or just mating. There's everything in this podcast.
Without further ado, please give it up for our friend Josh Wagner.
Dude, it was wild. My grandpa always had this kind of harebrained idea that he wanted to raise buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, they're big. You know what I mean? Like,
from buffalo to whitetail.
It was just, we didn't even have the whitetail idea before the buffalo. It was just something it's always crops. It was crops. So it started, let me back up. Started in the 30s as a dairy, and my great grandpa started as a dairy farm. And then got out of the dairy in the 80s, and it turned into the crops from the 80s to current. And I was born in the late 80s, so I didn't really get to see any of the livestock part of it. You know, I just grew up in the crops and never seen the animals. Hell, I love animals. You know, it was always a thing. My family, they don't hunt. My grandpa, he's never hunted. My dad's never hunted. It's something they've just never really wanted to do. They've always just been crops, you know, and farm and work. And he always had this idea that he wanted to raise buffalo. And I always heard this growing up, and I was like, man, buffalo are cool. You know, I always see them, like, out in Yellowstone. You know, it's like you see them out in the mountains, and it's like, dude, they're big. And he always had this idea. You know, it was always something that it wasn't, if it's available, it's not like, oh, that's crazy. You know, it was always something, you know. So real weird. We had some equipment for sale and some farm equipment for sale. And the guy who had purchased the equipment was a deer farmer in Ohio. And when he had come up and got the equipment, him and my grandpa just started chit-chatting and, oh, hey, that's possible? Oh, hey, okay. A couple of days went by, and he's like, hey, what do you think about raising some deer? And I'm like, all right, I'm a deer hunter, you know, and I'm like, hell, sure. That's, you know, I'm 30-some years old. I got 30-some years to go. You know, it's some security for me in the long run. And, you know, hell, Grandpa, he's 85. He's not going to be here forever. So, yeah, let's do something. Sure. Knew that it took license, knew that it took property, knew that it took fencing, knew that it took all this stuff, you know, so it was like nothing happened overnight, but it was like, yeah, let's take the ball and kind of run with it and see where we go. And we're 3 years deep, so it's a lot of fun. It took some work. You know, it took some work as to, you know, getting the license, finding the spot. The spot that we had picked out had a wheat crop on it, you know, so you got to wait for the crops to get off. You know, wait for you're on the fence guy's schedule now, you know, because you can't just call him and he'll be here tomorrow. You know, he's got a life too, you know, so now you're on his schedule. Trying to get into the DNR to get them to come down, you know, now you're on their schedule. So it was just, man, it was a slow uphill. And then as soon as we got there, like I just kept telling my family, let's keep taking the slow steps down. You know, let's not slip down these stairs and be ass over apple cart, you know, before we're even in this game. You know, let's do our research. Let's find good stock. Let's find a good fence guy. Let's find a good spot, you know, a stress-free spot. Let's not put him right next to the road or right next to the highway or next to the equipment or, you know, it took research if you really want to. I mean, just like any business, whatever you put into it, you'll get out of it, you know, hopefully, and just, like I said, fourth generation farmer. We just, you know, bust ass. It's just been, boy, you know, I've been bred to just work and work and work.
So. Right. So the license, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but just curious, like how much did that cost to get all that right?
I don't really know off the top of my head. I knew it was, I think it was just $1,200, $1,500, just a couple thousand, just something like that.
And it's a one-time deal?
No, it's a one-time deal, but you have to renew it every 3 years with just, you know, reinspection, just.
But the cost, you don't got to come out.
No, the cost is just one time. But you gotta follow their rules, which it's not hard to do. A lot of the guys don't. A lot of the guys don't follow the rules. A lot of guys get in trouble. A lot of guys don't.
Well,
not a lot. Let me rephrase that. Not a lot, but there's always there's outlaws in in anything. So
right.
There's people that's not gonna
cutting corners.
Yeah, not gonna follow the rules, and there's people that ruin it for a handful of other guys that don't do the blood test work, and then they can't sell their deer to this guy who's accredited really high, and because his deer aren't that good. It's just.
So that was my next question. So you guys are breeding deer to sell to high fence operations like Legends up there in Riley?
Legends. Yeah. So there's big ballers in the breeding game. South Texas, Michigan. Michigan is a closed border. So when I say closed border is the buying and selling of live animals can't go out of the state of Michigan just because of the CWD and the TB, the tuberculosis. Mm-hmm. Until they get all that stuff dialed in, live animal sales are closed border to Michigan only. So, yeah, at the end of the day, I got a good friend of mine in the deer industry that says, our job is to raise them up and at the end of the day get them in front of a bullet. We just got to keep them healthy, get the racks grown out, and if they don't make a breeder, they're going off to the ranch. It's just bottom line. It is what it is. Just like a dairy farmer, just like you're raising beef cattle. If you got guys that don't make it,
right?
They're, it's out. It's going to the slaughter or something. But that's not necessarily the case. But yeah, even breeders. I mean, Robert up at Legends, if anything's for sale, man.
What quantifies a breeder versus a shooter?
Size, really the size, the inches, the look, what people are looking for. It could be a breeder, but at the same time, if this is something that I got on my farm and it's just the most spectacular thing in the world, at the end of the day, it's got a price tag on it. If Robert from Legends comes down and he's like, hey, man, I got somebody that wants to hunt that deer. Here's what I'll give you for that deer. When one door closes, one door opens, So
right.
You got to kind of, that's what the business is you can't keep them all pets at the end of the day,
Right.
So it's
how much are we talking for a deer
man, it
like
depends.
Booner status,
It really depends. It depends on.
They're all Booners on his farm, Brent. Have you seen these?
Yeah,
I'm looking at that shed right there. My goodness,
and that's just a 2-year-old. I mean, that's a.
My God.
Yeah, that's a 2-year-old. So it's an August cut, which it looks goofy because it was still velvet, so it wasn't calcified, so it was still velvet. I had to boil it, but yeah, it was just going to be a chew toy for a dog, and I was like, I'll hang on to that. It's kind of unique, so I boiled it off, and yeah, that's just a 2-year-old.
You're going to use that as a chew toy?
Yeah.
So
yep.
I know I keep jumping around, but I'm just how do you get a deer to produce antlers like that?
Man, it's all genetics, all bloodline. Just like high dollar racehorses.
Okay.
All the same. Just no different than a high dollar racehorse that just won the Triple Crown to the horse that Sally's got out in her pen next door. There's a difference. The different genetics between, the horse that's just eating hay all day compared to the horse that whooping ass on the racetrack.
Right.
Same thing. It's the bloodlines. I mean, it's just the proven production. You breed the proven production. You get good does that are dropping those bucks. It all starts with a really good doe herd. If you don't have a good does, you're not going to have fawns that hit the ground.
Well, is the doe just as important than
it's actually
the sire?
It's actually more important. There's a saying in the deer industry. It's more or less who's your mama, not who's your daddy. And I always was like, oh, okay, but it's not science. The doe carries that fawn for 200 days. The buck is in there for a minute or two, and he's gone. He's got the
making me feel better about myself.
Yeah, he's got the power to reproduce, but also she's carrying that fawn for so long and passing on about 75 to 80% of the genetics come from that doe fawn. So it's from the doe, not the fawn. From the mother, passed on to that fawn, about 75 to 80% genetics come from the.
So not only the health of the doe, but also her genetics. So she's way more important than the buck.
She's got to be. Yeah, if she's A1 and you breed her to another A1, I mean, that's the whole thing is in this deer industry, it's all, a lot of it is controlled breeding. And what I mean by that is artificial insemination. So we're buying semen from South Texas. These farms here in Texas that just have these monstrous, and a reminder that these farms have 150 to 200 deer, and they're just, they got 6 or 7 that are outstanding. So that just shows you that it takes a lot, to have a few standouts. But, with the controlled breeding side is we're able to buy these straws of semen from Texas that are outstanding, or northern Michigan that are outstanding, and breed them with, some of the outstanding does that we have. And then then you're able to have that larger than life.
What are the
typical? Yeah, it's crazy, right, man.
What are the chances of something like that happening in the wild, where you get one outstanding buck and one outstanding doe that happen to get together?
It happens, and we see it a lot in the wild. Are you a deer hunter?
Oh yeah,
deer hunter.
Oh, absolutely.
So we all see it. Yeah, we all see it. That it's you'll get that one young 1.5 year 8-point on camera that it's like, whoa, he's.
Yeah, I never see a
3 already, and he's.
I never see 280-inch 2-year-old.
Oh no, and you never will. No, but yeah, it's a lot of the people are. What are you feeding them? What are you doing this and what are you doing that? And we're feeding them a good feed. It's a 16% protein pellet with it's got corn in it, got oats in it, got a pellet in it, got soybeans in it, got some molasses in it.
So they're hitting their max potential with the feed too.
With the low stress environment, that's the biggest ideal thing is the low stress environment, that he's not out there pacing that fence 300 times, because his antlers are never going to grow if he's just stressed out to the max.
Stressed out, burning energy, doesn't have it to put into the antler.
Will never grow. He'll bust them off in the fence. Be a freak job. I mean, he'll never grow. So the time that you put with him, the more. Oh, hey, there's Dad. He's bringing treats. He's got marshmallows in his pocket. Or, hey, I know that bucket. That's a bucket of corn. They're more treat-oriented. Gets them coming to you every time. And then then you can get the one-on-one health with them. Like, whoa.
I didn't know deer like marshmallows.
Orange 06 didn't get up and come for treats today. I better go check her out. It's more of that one-on-one. When you get them treat-dependent, when you get them, when they see you, they get a reward. Just like when you get home, when you got a puppy or something, it's the same thing. They know my voice. They know the Polaris. They know that, oh shit, there's grain on there. We better run up there and see if we can beat him to the gate. So it's a lot of fun. It takes the tree stand game to the next level, to be able to go in there and spend time with actual deer, to see how they tail wag, to talk to the other one, to see their ear movements, to talk to the other one, to just see how they communicate. Man, it just takes the tree stand game to the next level.
Oh, I bet.
Because then when you're covered up in deer, it's like, oh, that one's talking to that one, and that one keeps looking back. There's probably some, and you just all this, and it's like lowers the heart rate, gets everything a lot calmer. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, it's a lot of work, but. It's a lot of work because these are what you want. You want to grow some breeders and grow some stocker bucks. That's what we call them, is the stocker bucks that will go to the ranches and fill up the ranches. So yeah, I mean, when you got a pen of stockers, you got 2 or 3 breeders running around that you're collecting semen from. I mean, you're making money on the bucks that are going to the ranch. But then if you collect some straws and make some money on some straws, there's a market for.
So what do you make more money on, the selling of the deer or the selling of their semen?
Really, it goes both ways. If they got the genetics, I mean, man, just hate to keep referring to horses, but like just like them hideout, the proven production. When you go and you buy deer. I got all my friends are deer hunters, and it's like hey, let's go to a deer sale. And they're like, oh, like they run them in a pen and we see them. It's like, no, dude. How do you think a deer would act in a little circle pen and go nuts with 100 people around? So, like, when you buy deer, you're just looking at pedigrees. I mean, you're just looking at all these lineages, who they're bred with, maybe who they're, some of their offspring. But, you know, it's just, I mean, you're just looking at genetics. That's crazy, you know, it's just, and you're looking for the proven genetics and things that sell. And
here's my next question: how do you collect the semen?
Questions you might not want to know the answer to.
You know, just like they collect bulls, you know, with the dairy farm, a lot of the dairy farms are, you know, you got to have babies for mamas to have milk. So a lot of them dairy farms are ran on artificially inseminating, and, you know, to collect the semen, it's nothing fancy. I mean, you just put them to sleep and you bring them in. The vets, it's all done by qualified people. You know, the vets will come, and it's not the most coolest thing to see, but he's enjoying it. And once he wakes up, he's probably stretching out. And
like, I had one hell of a dream.
Yeah, man, don't know what happened, but wow, I feel better.
So it's more of a rub and tug, not a syringe extraction.
Yeah.
That's more or less what I was getting at.
Kind of in and out deal.
Yep. Well, hey.
Yep.
That probably, that's a lot better for the deer, I would imagine.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not more for the vet.
Yeah, but you know, when they're collecting semen on them, they of course don't have the big antlers by then, because they're all hard horn. You know, so they'll cut their antlers, because then they'll still have the testosterone in their body. So just cut the antlers, because then when they're out there pushing does around, they're not accidentally killing these does, because they have these gigantic
180 inches of antler.
Yeah, you know, the health of the animal is the end game result. Low stress, good nutrition, it just goes to peak performance for the deer, you know, and for them to have peak performance is that, you know, for that to be a 326-inch yearling. You know, he was a fawn last year. That's his first set of horns, a 326-inch yearling.
He's showing us a picture. I mean, that's something you would see on the front page of a magazine, or
for sure,
cover of a magazine, dude. That is a yearling.
First set.
Fuck.
And it's all just the pedigree.
So this does not happen in the wild.
Never.
No.
Yeah, these deer are just larger than life.
I'm gonna blame hunting pressure, the stress.
All right.
Yeah.
Our yearlings don't get that big. There's too many damn hunters.
Yep.
Well, like my next question is kind of a two-part question for like injury, right? So like I've heard rumors of deer farms taking to grow antlers like that non-typical tree branch. They would, when they're in velvet, cut the base of the antlers with razor blades to get them to grow abnormal like that. Also, in your guys' farm, you probably don't have very many injuries, but that would affect the antler growth, right? If they had like an injury to their back leg or something.
Yeah. So to answer the first part, I've heard of that old time. You know, I've heard of that years ago. People would mess with their antlers to get them grow all goofy. Now everything is so genetics. If you want to breed for big typicals or breed for big nasty non-typicals, you're able to do that. Everything is without harming the animal. There's an easier way to do it. Just breed with a big nasty non-typical if that's what you want. But at the end of the day, yeah, I'd love to see nothing but clean, squeaky clean typicals out there. But the market, they might not sell like that would sell.
Right.
You know, so
well, a 360-inch typical versus non-typical, like,
yeah, for sure.
Oh boy, yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah, you know, so
you're talking elk.
You breed with what's selling. If you want to sell deer, or do you just want to break your back feeding deer and taking care of deer? You know, or do you want it to be where you're selling and making money? And you know, so you gotta breed with what's popping, what's selling for the multiple thousands, you know, the 20s to 30 to $65,000, you know, so
no, like, so drop
so damn big.
Two-part question.
Yes,
the injury to affect the antler growth is for sure a thing. Usually I should have brought the other side to this guy because we actually had cut him in August. This was at a neighboring farm. I have his mom, but I don't have this actual deer. His other side was completely damaged that just grew like 2 baseball bats coming out the side, which then affected his health because his body was pushing more to grow this and fix this screw up, which then, I mean, he was skinny and not eating as much. His nutrition and all his attention was going to this. So then you just cut him. You worry about more of the health of the animal. We all like to see antlers. We all love antlers. But man, just like a fingernail, they'll come back. You know, worry about the health of that animal. Cut them off. Let him get back up to health so he can grow another great set next year, or, you know, in the following years, or be a breeder. But yeah, the injuries will affect it for sure.
So like that rack right there on that skull.
Yep.
With that weird looking brow tine.
Yep.
Would you just, from your experience, would you say that's something off of like an injury? Because you can tell like he had another part of that brow tine.
No, I would say that was a velvet mishap. I would think of it the injury would come more through like the main beam, nasty up or down. I would say that he just grew that brow tine maybe a little bit lower and just was, you know, had an oopsie when he was rubbing on a tree or something. But no, I wouldn't think that would necessarily be body damage, like hoof or any kind of hit by a car or anything of that nature. I would just think he might have just boogered that up when he was being a dink.
So
scrubbing his.
I took out a 1.5 old this year just down the road, and it was
a good way or a bad way.
Well, with a gun.
Oh, okay, good. Not with a car.
Not with a car.
Okay, good.
Knock on wood. Haven't done that one yet.
Yeah.
But my cousin was going to pass the deer because he said it was a fork horn, and then when I saw it step out, the left side of it was all like, it was only like 3 inches tall and clubbed out.
Yep.
Fucked up.
Yep.
So I'm like, fuck that, I'm going to shoot it.
Yeah. And you made the right choice. Like a call buck, you know, get him out of there.
When I gutted him, I pulled the heart, and it was like jello in my hands. I couldn't hang on to the damn thing.
Yep.
Googled. 2-3 hours later, I'm like, okay, it's an enlarged right ventricle. The heart was just like twice the size it should have been.
Yep.
Do you think that would be what caused that? 'Cause
Maybe.
he had no physical injury that I could find.
Might have been. You know, when they're just in the summertime, when they're just trying to push all their attention to the antler growth, if something's not clicking, it's just like a car that's not running on all cylinders. It still might run, but man, it sounds like crap. You know, so same with if he's not pumping on all of them, he still might grow one, but might not be worth a poop. You know, so that's all I can think of.
Now, I know you're not a biologist or anything, but I'm kind of scared to eat that heart.
Yeah, I would.
You wouldn't?
No, not a jello heart.
Well, it was firm once I washed it. It was just the outer
Cut into
ventricle. I took the fat cap off of it.
Did you eat it?
No. What's
it look like? Right. I mean, does it look normal?
It looks normal, but you've got the right ventricle is that one flap that covers like almost the whole outside of the heart.
Right.
That's just, it's twice as long as it should be, so it's really floppy.
Yep. So it
looks
looks normal?
Your grandma's underarm.
It kind of looks normal?
Yeah.
Doesn't smell normal.
Dude, it's been in the freezer for over a month.
So yeah, now it does.
You're asking questions I can't answer.
I don't know, man. To each his own.
Got a couple more in there. I might throw that one out to the dogs.
Yeah. It might be a safe bet.
Yeah, he was texting me about that, and he's like, fuck it. I'm going to make chili with it.
Not that I've ever heard anything that's passed through animal to human. You know, they're researching all that stuff and doing all that. None of that's happening.
Right.
So,
well,
right.
I definitely wouldn't eat it raw. I know that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, cook it. But yeah, no, I don't.
I was sketched out when I grabbed it out of the deer. I was like,
yeah.
I don't want to waste it.
Where was your shot? Did your shot create that, or?
No, because if my shot would have created that, it would have had some ripping.
Yeah,
Like
true.
there's no way to stretch it as far as it was
Yeah.
without actually causing damage.
Yeah, man, I don't know.
Yeah, I love heart, but yeah, that makes me iffy.
So, I shot an antler doe this year.
No way.
Right. It's my second one.
He likes
Matter of fact.
hermaphrodites.
Right. Crazy, right?
Same location?
No. No.
Wow.
Yeah,
Just
one on
must be
About 200 yards back that way.
Must just be your juju that they just follow you.
crazy, right? Well, like, I mean, do you guys run into that at all?
I've never seen it. No, I've not anything in the wild. I've never seen anything high fence. Never seen.
It's crazy, man. So
It's got to be a genetic thing.
They
You know what I
breed
mean? It's
healthy deer, Brent. Healthy.
well, it was nuts. Was the first one I shot. You know, she had
his nuts.
right. No, it had 2 fawns with it. It was right before dark, and I'm like, holy shit, that's got a spike. That's over 3 inches. That's illegal. But this last one I shot was more or less acting like a buck. He was in the way. Yeah, it. What do you call it?
The duck named Bo.
The duck named Bo. So the duck named Bo was right behind a doe. It was like it would have been, I think, kind of like right where that second rut might kind of kick off.
Yep.
But you just don't know. I mean, he could have just been walking behind her. But
It also didn't have balls.
well, I was going to say, it wasn't like it had, because I've heard rumors of, like bucks getting their nuts tore off, like jumping over a barbed wire fence or something, and then like they have testosterone issues. But it was nothing like that at all.
Yeah.
But it didn't have like tits like a doe would.
Like a milk sack or anything. Yeah.
Didn't have a dick, like no penis, no balls, no tits, and all it had, and the only reason I knew it even had anything to like any kind of hole at all was just because a little bit, when you shoot them, they died. Like a little bit of urine came out, but it was just like a little tiny hole in there. It wasn't even like a proper snooch,
Wow.
vagina, whatever you want to call it.
We'll go with snooch.
We'll go with snooch. I like snooch, but yeah, crazy, right? But you guys never run into anything like that.
No, it must be. The only thing is, man, it's got to be somewhere along the lines. It's too close to.
What'd you think? I mean,
It's a genetic thing, bro. It's
Inbreeding.
Inbreeding?
for sure. Yeah, hands down. Yeah, too
many
close
doe?
too close to the line. Somewhere along the lines, the lines got too close to lining up to something, and just 1 in a million.
Well, isn't that the same? I see you've got pieballs on here.
Yeah, this is a good friend of mine. From
So
Battle
are
Creek.
pieballs not inbred as well?
I'm not very. I don't have a lot of information on that. I can't fill you in on any of the pieball.
That's
things,
fair.
though.
That's
Yeah.
totally fair. For sure. I've got a lot of them running around out here.
Do you?
Yep.
Yep, and the same property I shot that first antler doe, there's
Yeah.
quite a few running around out
Bucks,
there
does, both.
too. Both.
Nice.
Yeah. Neighbor told me there was a buck this year. Last year there was a doe. The year before that there were 2 does.
Yeah, you guys shooting them? Is anybody shooting them?
We're trying. I want a full body mount.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. If it's happening in the wild, if it's happening in the high fence, it's because it's bred for it.
Okay.
Right.
If it's happening in the wild, the only thing that I can think of has to do with something along the lines of
Incest.
inbred
It's
or
like it's a recessive
something.
trait,
Yeah, it's
right?
a recessive trait that it's 2 in a million in the something like that in the wild. Wow. So it's like I don't want to say has to be, but I would almost think that it
Like
would be
To
genetic.
keep reoccurring
well, like even
that.
like this big buck you see behind me, he's got the rhinos going on.
Yeah, yep.
But he also had white hooves.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I would consider that a piebald trait,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's the third,
From
fourth
like
buck.
ankle down.
No, like the hooves themselves were just
Oh,
white.
really?
Yeah, instead of black.
Wow.
That was the 3rd or 4th one I shot like that.
Wow. Somebody painted his nails.
Right, pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah. Years ago, we saw the first one was as a button buck,
Yep.
little piebald. We had no idea about what they were. Cool, man. Let's watch this little guy.
Right.
First year, produced 7 points. I mean, he was a little basket rack. We both passed on him multiple times, and then he disappeared, as most 1.5 bucks do. And
Realize what they got going on, and girls, let's go chase them girls.
right. Third year, we started seeing does with the same thing. So then we started actually doing some research into it, and we're like, oh shit, that's not good. It's like we were just talking about earlier, recessive trait. And so my brother shot, he was the only one that actually shot like one of them that looked like that, and it was a small doe.
Yep. I mean, they're beautiful.
They are pretty, man. They really are. Since then, man, since we let that one pass, like I can't, like this one, like I said, he's got rhinos. For those who don't know what it is, basically their snout is crooked. We've had tumors. We've had some with 3 legs. We've had some with like extreme underbites, extreme overbites. Just not healthy deer. They're surviving.
They have a strong will to live. I mean,
oh my goodness, I think we can all attest to that.
3-legged, or I mean, they're strong. They're very, very.
How many deers do you see people posting trail cam pictures with holes in their side? You know what I mean? Or arrows sticking out of their faces, and they just keep on trucking, man.
I shot one with a 35 caliber round last year, and it just kept going right through the shoulder. That's why I switched bullets, Bert.
Right.
Yep. So it on the high fence side of things, they're strong. They're a very strong animal, but it's a full-time thing. I'm out there several times a day, several hours a day. You're getting one-on-one with that animal, and you're checking the health on the animal. Out there multiple times a day. They're really strong, and but you want to be able to catch something as soon as it happens. You don't want to be 3 or 4 days into, for example, pneumonia game. Like if somebody's out there coughing, or if somebody's got a droopy ear, or somebody's a minor thing like eye boogers or snot running out of their nose, just minor things that you can catch on days before, like, oh shit, she's not getting up. And then I got to go get her up, and it's like she's just drooling. It's like, oh shit, it's past the point of time to run her in the barn and now play catch up. When it's like, I could have seen this 3 days ago and treated her 3 days ago. She could have been on her 2nd or 3rd treatment trying to kick this. So it's a full-time thing. They're really strong, but they just, it's what I put into it. Just like.
So you're basically like a parent to these deer then.
Yeah, it's just like, just like having cattle or, anything. It takes responsibility. A dog, anything, even yourself. It takes self-care, and then like we talked about earlier, when they get dependent on you, it's like, hey, he's pulling in. Let's, we'll run up and meet him at the gate.
Well, people see like with feeders, which you shouldn't be using in Michigan anymore.
No. But no different than a house dog. When you come home at the end of the day, they're excited to see you. It's like, hey, Fido, how you doing?
So how does that mess with you when you sell them off to go to a farm? And
haven't sold any off yet, but like we said earlier, when one door closes, if I sell one, I'm able to get another one. You can't keep your numbers too high. At the end of the day, that's what you're trying to do, is make money. Yeah, sell. So everything's got a price. The price of the one that you care for the most compared to the price of the one you don't care. It varies, but everything's got a price.
The one that's a little shithead that's always the one that running does when it's not supposed to.
And the thing is with the whitetail, it's such a herd animal. And what I mean by that is, if one is doing it, 5 are doing it. If 5 are doing it, 10 of them are doing it. So they're a herd animal. They're always herded up together. And that goes back to the low stress of the whole herd in its own. Is we bottle feed our fawns in the spring, and the reason that we bottle feed our fawns is to lower their stress, is so they're okay with us. Mm-hmm. So when we go out there, we have to handle those does. We have to run them in the barn for treatment. We have to run them in the barn for artificial insemination. We have to handle those deer to keep them healthy, So bottle feed the doe fawns, which then they're all cool with everybody. They're cool with the kids running around. They're cool with the lawnmower running around. They're cool with the Polaris coming out. They know it's got feed in the back, so that when these 5 are nice and calm and cool, those 5 are nice and calm and cool, and then those 5 back there are nice and calm and cool. It just goes on. It's just a herd thing, which then
It's the same as that one doe that blows at you.
It takes them all
Oh,
away.
dude.
Yeah. Yep. I got one in the pen like that. 95% of the herd will come up to me, eat everything out of my hand, and she's just like a 20-footer, and it's like, nope, not cool with you yet. And it's just, she'll make one movement, one stomp, one blow, one tail up, taking off, and it's like everybody sees that, and it's like, oh, nope, something's going on, gotta go. And it's like, I was just feeding all you fuckers out of my hand, and now you just took off. It's all because of you. You know, they're just a herd, you know, just a big time herd animal. So
You know, they taste really, really good.
there's a market for that.
Solve your issue there.
There's a market for that. You know, that if there's an injury, or, you know, you got a doe that, knock on wood, breaks a leg or two, or something just absolutely freakishly happens, unless you're dearly connected to her, there's a market for that. You know, just like if you lose a cow.
With chronic wasting disease kind of showing its, I guess you've only been in the business for 3 years. So.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people have their different views on CWD. The cool thing with the captive deer herds is the state of Michigan is trying their butts off to do anything. They want to help. They'll do anything to help. They'll pay for testing. They're getting to where CWD, they're genetically getting rid of it. So what they're trying to do is they'll test your deer for this certain genetic, and if that has that resistance in there, you know, it takes the value of that animal.
That's interesting.
Yeah, the state of Michigan is busting their butt, but everything, all the deer high fence are blood tested for, you know, bovine tuberculosis, chronic wasting disease. The tests are.
Oh, they can do a live test, or are you just looking for that resistance?
Yeah, blood tests. It's all
the resistant genetic.
Yep, all through like tissue sample, so like hair or anything. So
Well, they could do a live test for CWD. They just got to pull a lymph node.
yeah,
Right.
They can, which if you have the deer that you can put under, that's not hard to do.
Right.
They biopsy lymph nodes on people all the time.
Oh, yeah. I guess you're right. Yeah.
it's scientific, man. It's the CWD world, the testing world. You know, hats off to the state of Michigan. So all the deer, we're all registered through the Department of Natural Resources, and then we all have to follow the testing through the Michigan Department of Agriculture, which is the CWD, the tuberculosis, all of that. So you're answering to a few different people for a few different things. You're answering to the Department of Natural Resources for, you know, captive questions. Everything's here. My fence is good. This and that. Nothing's coming in. Nothing's going out. You know, the Department of Agriculture, you're doing your disease testing, your genetic testing. You're doing, you know, the scientific stuff. So, I mean, it's a scientific world out there in the whitetail.
So it's not just the MDNR that are doing the testing for your TB and your CWD.
Yep, that's who it is. Yep, the Michigan Department of Agriculture. Yep.
Right. I was talking the Michigan DNR. The Department of Agriculture is getting it as well.
Yeah. Yep. So you know, it's a lot of work, but as long as you stay on these people's good side, you know, it's.
I mean, it's worth it if they're finding a way to breed that resistant genetic.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
I mean, that's a dim light at the end of a tunnel that nobody saw the end of.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
No doubt.
Know, and like even for the big breeders in Texas, a lot of the guys are automatically just getting them genetically tested for that resistance genetic to. I mean, that boosts the sale and everything. If you're buying semen from a resistant buck, sure. Then if I'm testing my does on my farm and I'm putting them in resistant does, sure. You know, so it's a light. You know, it's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's a weird game, the CWD, you know, and the EHD, and it's an odd thing. But
is there any transportation regulations as far even within the state that you gotta abide by now because of that?
Yeah, like if I was to say you had your high fence operation and I was to sell you a deer and, you know, hey Brett, see you next week. I would actually have to get that okayed. I would have to get a permit, have to do all of this stuff in order to even do that. So we're not really running on our time. We're running on their time. And then even if I'm able to bring anything out of my fence, if I'm following those disease test requirements and I'm following those regulations, if that even allows me to do that in the first place. So you just got to cross your T's and dot your I's, to be able to do what you want to do.
If you had a deer test positive for chronic wasting disease, as highly contagious as it is, like what would that mean for your deer herd?
So what that would do is they'll quarantine that deer. Basically, just pull that deer from the herd and watch that deer. Just see if that goes uphill, downhill, see how it goes. But they're not going to come out and wipe out my whole herd. Each deer that we're noticing we'll just quarantine that deer from the herd, not necessarily come out and wipe out my whole herd, because we don't really know that they're all the problem. If we just get the one problem out of there.
So is it because they don't know as much about it as like scabies in sheep or...
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, they're trying.
Because I know with scabies in sheep...
Scrapies.
Scrapies. They'll just wipe the whole herd.
Yeah. No more. They won't do that in the deer world. I mean,
they're using it more of a learning experience, trying to figure out where this is going to go.
Let's see what we can do and see if we can.
Do you know if they've found any deer that live with it?
I don't know.
Or beat it
past 5. Well, that's what's tough, man, is because it takes like 4 to 5 years to kill it, ultimately. And and even then, like once they start to show any kinds of symptoms of it, like it makes them pretty vulnerable. It could be years
down the road, yeah. So I mean, they could carry it and not even show symptoms of it,
So last year, I had a 8-point late doe season come out, and he was just walking in circles, real tight circles, right up against a little tiny hill on the edge of a tree line. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like dude got his bell rung, but clearly didn't. He's in the middle of a damn bean field.
Yeah.
Is that
That's what they call that zombie deer. One of the two. EHD, CWD, one of the two. But yeah.
Okay, so
something along that
he
line.
definitely had something wrong.
Something, yeah. He had it wasn't just a long party, and it was
just. I mean, do you know how long it takes for EHD to kill a deer?
Nope.
Because you said late doe season, so it had been pretty cold, which means that's pretty much under control.
There was 6 inches of snow on the ground for a while. Yeah. It was December.
Yeah. Did you notify the DNR, or
No, because somebody I'm related to was a fucking idiot and tried to shoot it and put it out of its misery without a bow. They tried to use a gun. I will not name them because it's not legal and they will go to jail. But he knows better now.
Did the deer survive?
He missed.
Oh. So it survived?
Yes.
Okay. Have you seen it
since?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Took off, and that was it.
Must have snapped it back to reality.
One can only hope.
Yeah.
That or it made it down to the damn waste treatment plant and died.
Yeah, maybe.
God. So how often do you run into these disease problems, though, Like where you have to quarantine animals?
Knock on wood, haven't. With the vaccinations, we're vaccinating them, for respiratory. You stay up on your medicines, you stay up on the care. I mean, it's no different than us. We take care of ourselves. We're not going to get sick. Knock on wood, so to say.
Right.
But if we're going out in the cold with no jacket on, there's a better chance of us getting sick. So just the care of the animal, the time with the animal, just takes a lot of time.
If you don't mind me asking, how much are you selling these giant bucks to these ranches to?
So the thing is the ranch has to make their money too, right? Mm-hmm. So like they might buy a deer from me for $5, but they're gonna sell it for $10 because they got to make their money back, right?
Right.
So, when you're looking at those ranch hunts, you're looking at bottom dollar $20,000 per deer. So if they buy it from me for 10, and then take it up there, and they got somebody coming from Ohio that's going to pay, or somebody coming from Chicago, or somebody coming from New York that sits in a cubicle all day that wants to pay $25,000 for this deer.
Jesus.
You know, so it's there's a lot of money. I remember Robert from Legends up there telling me a story that there was this guy up there, spent 6 days up there and shot 13 deer.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Bottom dollar was $20,000.
So they obviously don't have to follow the normal regulations.
No, yeah. You just,
I mean, for those that aren't from Michigan, we're only allowed to shoot
only
$2.
allowed 2, yeah. So, no, yeah, you're shoot what you can pay for. You know, get that
Josh,
guy.
you look like you're about ready to explode.
13 deer at $20,000
Dude,
a head.
Just
Oh, I
stock,
know, I
yeah.
know.
$60,000.
Yeah,
dude, that's ridiculous.
You know, just stock the trophy room somewhere. You got 13 heads coming back. You just
That is
you
ridiculous,
just stocked
man.
your
I hope that person gets kicked in the balls once a year for the rest of his life.
you know, got the money to go spend. You know, it's like
Look at all these deer I shot at one time on a ranch.
yeah. But you know, on the ranch side of things, hey man, get that guy a drink, another box of ammo.
Right?
Who's taking him out tomorrow?
Right.
You know, so
Hey, if you've got the $250,000 to drop in a week,
do it.
more power to you, bud. You're
Yeah.
on the wrong line of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just from
You know, like there's not to cut you off, but like there's, you know, roughly 600,000 deer hunters in the state. You know, so there's deer dying high fence. There's a lot of deer dying high fence. You know, and when you're bringing those guys, like when Robert up there is loading that lodge full of out of towners, man, you're bringing money to that town. You're bringing money to that local liquor store. You're bringing money to that taxidermist or to that meat market that's cutting that deer that guy can't fly back with and fit in his suitcase, you know? So it's like you're bringing money to the town. You're bringing money to the state of Michigan. And then when they did the whole bait ban, I know it dropped a lot from like 600,000 to 420-some thousand deer hunters in the state of Michigan. So it's like there's a lot of deer dying in the state of Michigan, you know? So the market is, I mean, keep them growing.
right.
So
On these high fence operations, you don't have to go and buy a Michigan State tag, do you?
I don't know how that works. I don't know if your initial money into it would cover your state tag. You know what I mean? Because they're paying so
if
much.
you're shooting 13 deer in
Right, that's
one season,
There's got to be fine line somewhere. You know, it's a high fence ranch.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I wonder if they even consider it a season or if it's just you have an operation where they can come in and basically pay to shoot the deer.
Yep. Do what they want.
You said that you hand feed your deer, so it's
Doe
obviously
fawns. The does. And that's the thing is we didn't really get into that. The reason why you don't bottle feed those bucks is because, you know, at the end of the day, they might not stay around. You know, so you don't want to send one up to the lodge and then have it follow some dude out of the gate, and then now it's running down the highway, and then we all lose out. You know, it's like,
okay, that makes more sense.
you know, because the bucks, their attitude changes. I mean, we all know, we've all seen deer. The bucks' attitudes will change. The doe's attitudes will change, but on the high fence side, I control, like with the whole artificial insemination, I control when I put them in heat. I control, so to say, when their attitude changes. When that buck, man, his attitude will change for months. You know, so when he's letting you in the gate, rubbing his head, playing around, feeding him, there could be a time where it's like, no, man, we're not friends no more, and I'm not letting you in this gate. So then it's like, shit, I can't get in there and feed you anymore because you're not letting me in this gate. You're blocking me at this gate thinking we're playing. You got this massive 18-inch tines. I don't want to play with you no more, you know? So it's like,
This isn't fun for me no more.
yeah, you just don't take the chance.
taking my ball and I'm going home.
Yeah, you just don't take the chance because then it's just let your bottle feeding, let your does do the calming of the herd. Them bucks might not necessarily be bottle fed, but they'll be 20 footers. They'll see, they're such a herd animal. They'll see these 15 that are sitting here just tail wagging, getting fed. Hey, what's going on up there? They'll be 20 footers. They're not going to be hand feeders or head scratchers, but they'll be 20 footers.
Well, I was just curious because they sell them to ranches once in a while.
Yep.
I don't know how many people want to go and shoot a bottle-fed deer.
No.
They still have to be a little bit wary.
Yep. But, and you take the chances. There's a few guys that do bottle feed bucks, because you're trying to get that low stress. You're trying to get him to pop out a 326-inch yearling rack. So you want that low stress. You want that, hey, I'm cool with him. I don't have to run to the other side of the pen. He's okay. Right. And, oh, yeah, that four-wheeler, it's okay. It doesn't hurt me, so I'm going to just lay here, So it just goes back to their whole stress level. But, yeah, you don't bottle feed the bucks just because, their attitudes will change.
How many of those high fence ranches do you sell to in the state?
So there's a lot in the state. I haven't sold to any yet, but it's
because Legends is the only one that
Legends has the clients. They are pumping them out of there. I don't know how many they shot, but hundreds of deer last year. Just can't get enough. The state of Michigan, they're just the deer. There's a need for deer. And it's just good for the deer farms. The market in the state of Michigan is just booming right now.
I had about 40 of them in the field down the road. You can have them.
They were there last night. Yeah, when I was pulling up here, there was 2 or 3 of them crossing the road.
Me and him were just sitting there before you got here, and we watched, 9, 10 across the street here?
Out there.
Yep.
Just big old does.
Yep, got to get some good does.
We're all herded up. Yeah. Well, you got plenty of good does.
Yeah, they're all hopefully pregnant right now, so they're all
we had some late breeding this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got one in December that she had just been bred.
Yep.
Like almost graphic, you could tell.
December.
Old 5-finger Betty.
Late December?
Oh, it was December 17th?
Yeah.
Mid-December?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there?
Yeah. Not to be graphic, but yeah, they get really swollen. What was the word? Their snooch?
The snooch, yes.
It gets really, really, really swollen when they come into heat. You got to think, because, dude, you got this big old buck jumping on you. He doesn't have a 10-inch,
Right.
So, yeah.
Easy target.
Yeah, yep. They get all swollen up when they come into heat. And usually they got 2 cycles. They'll come into heat around the second week in November, and then once they get out of that, about 14 to 16 days, they'll come back in their other cycle if they didn't take. So yeah, it's
So before I forget, and again, you might have already answered this, but when you're collecting the bucks, is there a specific time when you need to get it?
No, because he, just like an old Tom turkey, man, he's ready all the time.
Really?
That buck will be ready as soon as they put the hard horn on to as soon as they drop them antlers. They'll knock one down now. I'm ready. So those does come into their cycle. Those does are like, yeah, man, I want you around now or not, get away from me.
But after they drop until they're hard horned, you can't?
No, you can. Yeah, you can collect them, but you can, so to say, over collect them. You don't want to wear them out. But like if you're, you knock one down and you collect them one time, for example, you could get 50 to 70 straws. So you're sitting, you're sitting pretty. And if you're breeding, if you get 3 solid shots, 4 shots out of that straw, you're breeding 1 straw to 4 does.
Damn.
So when you got
shit.
when you're collecting 70 straws on one little pop, you don't have to knock him down multiple times unless
more of a man than I.
Yeah, unless you're the ace here just pumping them out. So
what's the percentage of times it actually takes?
That really goes like dude, it goes on their stress. if they're jacked up, they're not going to take. You know, it's like when you, I base a lot of things on their stress. You know, if they're stressed out to the max, just pacing the fence, never calming down, panting like crazy, dude, her body's just not going to allow it. You know, but if you know, you got a calm herd and everybody's just out laying down, just, you know, helps the program. So stress is a big thing.
You just dart them
for what?
To put them out to inseminate them.
So actually, we have a handling facility where we're able to actually run them in, and if we don't need to put the deer to sleep, say if we need to just administer like some antibiotics, if we got to put some iodine on a cut or do something along the lines of where it's not going to take putting the deer to sleep, what we did is we built a handling facility, so we're able to run our deer into the barn and put them in like a handling chute and administer that, you know, fix that problem, give them the medicine, and then a minute later they're out the door. Compared to putting them to sleep, you know, they're asleep for a half hour, you're waiting 15 minutes for them to wake back up, it's an hour or several hours compared to, just run them in and give them the shot and out they go. So you don't really have to do a dart.
That's when you turn on the Marvin Gaye and get the candlelight.
Yeah, so actually,
really
you
set the mood.
Yeah, right. You sound like my friends. So no, we'll run them in the barn, and we just got a little 4x4 boxes. Everything is completely dark. No windows, no nothing like that. And when they're in a completely dark area, they just kind of like freeze. Just you can't see me, I'm hidden.
Okay.
So when we run them in, we'll run them in the barn and then just kind of pinch them, and we'll just kind of reach around and give them a shot, give them a tranquilizer shot, and then just shut the door. They'll fall asleep in the barn. We'll wheel them out. The vet crew is there, and basically the vets, take over from there. They're, shaving their hair off their stomachs. They're cleaning their stomachs, going in laparoscopic, and putting the semen in there. And it's a
oh, wow.
It's a process of minutes. So
she gets all the responsibility and none of the fun.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys use a very small group of vets that do this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Here's some pictures. So what we'll do, we just run them in, put them to sleep, wheel them on these stretchers. They'll come over, shave their bellies.
It's like a deer gynecologist.
Yep. And then what they'll do, she's over here pulling the semen out of the frozen tank, checking the semen. She's getting everything ready. They're all tipped upside down. They're all cleaned off. And then basically just go in there laparoscopic and...
Dude, can you send me
some
of those pictures?
Yeah. She's in there. Put them on our page. She's in there with a scope, and then she's pushing the semen. She's in there with one hole, checking it out, and then she's placing it right where it needs to be.
Right on the egg.
Right there. And they're pregnant when they leave the barn.
Dude, that is nuts.
So, yeah.
Almost feel bad for them.
I know.
That is efficient.
Wow.
Yeah. Tip them upside down, all their guts and everything into their diaphragm, and then it's something to watch. I mean, they're poking, filling them up with air. They fill up their belly with air, and they get all puffed up, and they get in there. And I mean, she's done it for years. I mean, she's my mom's age, and I mean, they're just sweet ladies. It's a team from Canada, so it's a vet team they're based out of Canada and Texas. And
boy, that's a stretch.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they dude, it goes from, like, she was telling me stories, they artificially inseminate honeybees.
What?
Yeah, horses. I mean, they've done it all. Like, yeah, a bee.
Does she have any kids?
Right. Yeah. No, it's
Did you do this the old-fashioned way, or take matters into your own hands?
Yep. No, it's really scientific stuff. So
I don't think we can talk to them, Brent. I might offend them. Get smacked like I'm their child.
Yeah, check that out, Brett. I mean, she's in there with a scope, and then
dude, that is insane. It looks like.
And dude, and I mean,
so just for the audio only people, and we're gonna post these pictures. If you send them to me, I'll post them on our page. it looks like, what do they call them things? The inverter tables?
Teeter hang-ups?
Yeah, like the upside
Inversion
down
tables.
tables. Yeah,
It looks like a deer is in one of those.
for sure. Yep, everybody with doctor scrubs on.
Yeah,
You know,
dude, that is crazy.
Yep. I mean, she's there checking the semen, pulling the semen out of the tank, making sure the semen is alive, swimming, good to go. I mean, they're not just going to
Not shooting blanks.
Yeah, not putting junk semen in there. I mean, you're spending multiple thousands on these straws.
Do you have many that do that? Or they shoot blanks, per se?
Yeah, but they don't necessarily put them in the loop. Like if you're collecting this buck and it's just junk, man, just throw it away.
Oh, right. But I'm just saying, like, if you had, like, what you would describe as a breeder buck,
Yeah.
right? And then you bring him in and you collect it, you're like, oh, shit. Like, he's shooting blanks.
Yeah, it's reality.
You know, if he shoots blanks once, is he always gonna shoot
Yeah,
blanks?
hard telling.
Lower his stress, cool down the environment that all that stuff sits in.
Yep. It's a strike system, you know.
3 strikes, you are out, son.
Yeah. You know, and that's the thing is with these does, you know, we're artificially breeding these does and they're not taking. I mean, you don't take 2 years in a row.
So
We're you know, it's a
at what age do you start breeding the does?
year and a half old.
Year and a half old?
Yeah, so they go on they're dropping fawns at 2 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, they're dropping their first fawns at 2 years old. A lot of the guys,
Is that, I don't mean to interrupt you, but is that normal for the wild too? Year and a half?
no, because doe fawns will come into heat. They'll come into heat their first year.
And take?
Yeah.
Like a weanling.
Yeah.
Well,
6 months old.
Yep.
The reason I asked that is because behind the house here, there was a doe and a little one that kept showing up. That doe wasn't much bigger than the yearling.
Yep.
That,
Yeah, she'll come into heat. Yep.
Wow.
And the buck fawns will produce the testosterone on their first year too if they produce a big enough button where they're able to, if it's big enough and it produces, you know, if it calcifies and produces a hard horn, they'll produce testosterone in their body too. So,
Well, the
they'll
chances of them actually breeding, though, are pretty low, right?
I mean,
As far as competition goes, I mean, they're going to get their
yeah, if
asses
they're
kicked.
this
It
big
depends
trying to
on
hop,
buck-doe ratio.
Yeah, for sure.
True.
Yep. You know, and it's if she's in heat, she'll let you. It's what they do. Like reverse side, if a buck was to breed a fawn, a coming yearling, you know, a weanling fawn, you know, that's no different than an elementary kid having a baby. Their body's not ready for it. Their body can't produce and do everything. So the chances of that fawn, the chances of it not being multiples, the chances of it being a single with a birth effect or something along that lines, I mean, it's just a given, you know, so.
That little one that was with that particular doe I was talking about looked pretty normal, I guess.
I mean, if the parts are there, what's to stop it?
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Just, man, that's just...
I mean, you got to have the right ratio. You know, and you got to control your doe herd.
7-to-1 is not the right ratio.
No,
and it's
very,
ridiculous out here right now.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
you gotta
does.
you gotta control your doe herd. So, gotta have the right ratio. You know, gotta have the 1-to-1, 1-to-2.
And that's just how you get healthy deer.
Yeah,
Right?
Yep.
You know, I was always under the impression if you had too many does that the bucks don't got to get up and go find them because
Yeah.
they're just everywhere.
Yeah.
So you're going to see less bucks when you're out hunting, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Do you wait on the deer to collect the semen, or year and a half just like the does?
So you wait because he's outstanding as a yearling. I mean, it really depends. You can trust the pedigree. You can trust that he's got it genetically, and collect him because he's got the proven production in his genetics. A lot of the guys don't collect the yearlings just because they don't really know what he's gonna. It's not his showcase year. Showcase year is 2-3 years old. You know, usually sell them off to the ranches at 3-4 years old. So a yearling, if they pop out like that, yeah, it's super cool. But let's see them when they're 2. You know, let's start the collection.
See if they go up or down.
Yeah, but then it goes back. You know, it goes back to the the production, man. If he's got it, if he's absolutely just got the papers, get a step up, collect him. If he's got the production, you can put offspring on the ground. You know, and then when he's 2 years old and he's got fawns on the ground already, and he's a spectacular 2-year-old, it's like, hey, I got offspring out of him. You know, so they don't. You know, it's a gamble. Just like any, you know, it's a gamble, just like, putting a seed in the ground and hoping that it grows to have 4 ears of corn on this stalk, you know, so it's a gamble. You know, it's farming.
Same thing as cows.
Yep.
Didn't realize quite how industrious it was.
Even that to the, scientific side, like, you know, I got a lot of good guys in the industry, and they'll sit there and talk over my head. It's like, yeah, man, I lost you 20 minutes ago talking about embryos and slush and this and that. It's like, yeah, man, cool. Glad to have you as a friend. So, yep.
We can pretty much wrap this thing up unless
No, I'm good. That's all I was curious on at the end there.
Josh, we appreciate you
Hey,
coming
man,
on.
not a problem. I appreciate it.
So awesome. Very interesting.
Yeah, you guys will have to come down and check out the farm. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome, dude.
Anytime, come on down there. It's a lot of fun. So, it'll blow your mind that, man, the deer aren't that big. They're not very big when you're right up next to them. It's like, holy cow. It really takes it to another.
Yeah, usually when I'm right up next to them, they're laying on the
laying
ground.
flat on the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Everybody, we will talk to you next time.